Hello my dear friends, today I'm going to show you how you can make this out of things lying around the house. The Awdry Extravaganza 4 is coming to the Talyllyn Railway in July 2024. But if you can't make it in person, then you don't have to feel left out. Firstly, once again, I'll be hosting the railway's livestream throughout the Saturday, where we'll take a look at all of the wonderful models you've created. Yes, that's right, the Awdry Diorama Challenge is back, and you can find out how to take part on the Talyllyn Railway's YouTube channel. As you'll see, CalebTrains has made a fantastic example diorama, which will easily inspire ideas for what you could make. However, you don't need running models or expensive materials to join in. I was asked by the team to make a demonstration piece out of everyday bits and pieces. Call me Terrier47 Cheapside because here's how I recreated this illustration from 4 little engines on a budget. Like all miniature creations, it starts with a plan. The rules limit the size of the diorama to 30cm by 30cm, and I wanted to have a backdrop if I could, which left quite a book-like shape. Typical of Dolby's illustrations, the best bits are the people and the pretty rural landscapes, with the action taking very linear lines into the background. With that in mind, I decided to dust off my childhood copy of the Railway Series book and supersize it. Peter Sam and the Refreshment Lady is based on a real occurrence.
This is not a photo, this is real.
So it suits having the story physically spilling out of the pages. Especially in this painting, it's the people that take centre stage over the train. So I started with them first. I cut off the ends of some cotton swabs and used superglue to start a stick figure. The legs were posed into shape, and then with tweezers, a cotton end was bunched up to make a head. Extra balls of cotton stuck on formed the hair. The arms were firstly twisted and then stuck in place, before the rest of the body was bulked up with some more cotton sticks. You probably think I am insane for making people with cotton, but hopefully it is now clearer how this makes a skeleton. Wait until you see what the clothes are made of. Before that though, the hands and shoes are cut out of card. Out comes the kitchen roll. Having made stop motion puppets before, I reckoned that the body shape could be paper mache'd. So using PVA glue and a cocktail stick, small strips of kitchen roll are wrapped around. This was horribly messy to work with, but at least you don't need much kitchen roll. One sheet does one piece is enough. Once this had dried a bit, more roll was glued onto one side to wrap around and make the Refreshment Lady's cardigan and skirt. The benefit of making all of this from scratch is that I can make it how I want. In this case, that means making the fabric wave like it's being swept by the wind. Can't get that in a shop-bought model. Small tufts of cotton in the cardigan make sure it doesn't fall flat. Paint begins to bring this all to life. This has so far been made using everyday household items, provided of course that you already have paint, glue, tools and so on. I'm not a magician. Using the same method, I made a little Reverend Awdry to stand in the brake van. The story is based on a real event where Wilbert left his mother-in-law behind whilst volunteering as a guard at the Talyllyn. though of course it's the engine's fault in the book. All the colours I'm using are mixed from a set of hobby acrylics. Most of the details are painted on, being very careful in covering both sides of the kitchen roll. I'm pleased to have made something out of nothing with these people, but I suppose they should have a train to catch too. The entire thing is going to be made from half a cereal box, but I should talk about all of the different cardstock that I'll be using in this project. Thin card refers to stuff like cereal box card, which I'll often fold in half to use as a tab to hold things together. Thick card, around 1mm thick, is the sort of thing you'll find in shipping envelopes and packaging. Because I make many models, a lot of what I'm using today is artist's A1 sized mount board, which you can find very cheap in hobby stores. Likewise, the diorama itself will be made from 5mm thick foam board, but cardboard will work just as well. I just don't have much of it at the minute. To save the thicker cardstock that I do have, I'm not going to make every single page, but enough to show that it is a book. The text is printed out and stuck on, but the background needs to be painted so that it is just a background. People tend not to like Dolby's illustrations. I'm looking at you, Reverend Cottontree. But his paintings are really nice. He just thought he was illustrating for a novice children's author and not an eagle-eyed railway enthusiast. I've only ever painted one picture before, but with the book close to hand, it was possible to copy something roughly in the style of the original. This challenge is all about hand-making things after all. The empty pages were glued into place, and the main page stuck in front. Then I made a ramp out of the offcuts of card, so that the scenery matches up with the height of the painting. Something I did to save space whilst making the adverts for Bluebell Railway was to create a false perspective, an illusion of depth through a set gradually getting smaller into the distance. To do that again here, I sketched out a very squished train so that I know it'll fit within the 30cm limit. To make each coach, I'm using the same method that held the cereal box together, which is a net. I remember making these in school. I start with a square frame, which has a couple of millimeters cut off on one side so that it gets tinier. The coach walls are made separately, again losing a couple of millimeters in height and in width. The measurements of the smaller end then become the bigger end for the next coach, so that it all matches up nicely. Again, on this scale, very tedious work. To help make things consistent, I make a template for the curved edge of the coach ends. As the brake van is the largest, spare cereal box is used to double up and make it stronger. Most importantly, it's made so that Mr. Awdry can lean out of the door. The coaches get ridiculously small, so their details will be painted on. Our old friend, the cotton swab, returns to act as the axles. Now to make the smallest engine I have ever made. But we can't leave Peter Sam behind. That would be a bit ironic. The frame and wheels are made the same way as the coaches, and he gets a little running board and buffer beams. The only different object I'm using here is a superglue lid cut in half to act as his saddle tank. I've gone through enough of the stuff. The smoke box and cab are still cereal box, and little cylinders are made with squashed cotton swab sticks. On this scale, I can just manage to represent the Hackworth valve gear. I so nearly made buffers and a Giesel funnel for him, but then remembered he doesn't have them yet in this book, so one more cotton stick for that. He gets painted up in Scarlowy red, and does have a face that you'll barely see once on the diorama. The coaches meanwhile do get buffers, roofs and couplings. Then they're put into blue and cream. They still need a railway to go on though. Back on the diorama, another Terrier 55 Stepney classic technique, painting sandpaper to make a gravelly floor. Now the messiest task imaginable, keep a hoover close at hand, using polystyrene blocks to carve out hills on either side. I test fit the train and pencil out markings for the track and grass. Another classic building material, matchsticks, are used to make the rails, but card would work just as well. The hills can now be painted green. I've got an idea to make the grass greener, so for now this is simply a muddy undercoat. There are lovely scatters that you can use from model railway suppliers, but my challenge is making things from scratch, so I tried something new. I got some green coloured paper and banished them to the shredder. With a lot of PVA glue, this mixture was then tacked down to the hills. Looks a bit rough, but the paper look does go with the idea that this is a book page come to life. Speaking of paper, now for a tree. With plenty of cereal box left, I sketched out a bunch of tree outlines. These get stuck to some offcuts of the foam board. Again, you can make very fancy model trees using twisted wire or real foliage, but we're going with a storybook feel today. After painting, cocktail sticks can be poked into the foam board so that the other end can be stuck into the polystyrene.
Much intrigue. You can at least smile. You're a happy cat, remember? Happy cat. I hope you haven't got glue on your hands. Didn't think about that.
More leftover thick card is bent to make the platform edge. This and the rails now get painted, and so does the grass with a more unifying green. The figures are feeling a bit left out at this point, so we need to make them some props. The guard gets a flag made from a cocktail stick and some more kitchen roll. To make the Refreshment Lady's bag, a little card circle forms the main structure. I wanted it to look like fabric, and it has to be light enough for the figure to hold. So, using some string, I wrapped around the card. The handles were provided from a chopped up paperclip. It's not required to make a 360-degree diorama, but since I've completed the inside of the book, I wanted to make a cover to make the other side more interesting. Thick card is glued on the outside, and for extra unnecessary effort, I made a bigger piece that will become a giant dust jacket. Since this now isn't part of the diorama itself, I did betray the household item only brief here because my fiancé does have a vinyl maker, which I used to recreate the text and symbols. Printing or painting the cover details will do just the same. I was just lazy. Everything is taken outside to be sealed with clear matte lacquer. last, the train can now be stuck down. I feel like we've forgotten someone. Oh no. Sorry miss. As payback, I did a whole photo shoot thinking I was finished, before checking the illustration again and remembering that I hadn't included the steam. Whoops. Yeah, he has a steam engine, he probably needs that. Another paperclip is added from the chimney to the coach roof. Then cotton wool is stretched across. There we go. The idea of the Awdry Diorama Challenge is to be creative like the Reverend himself, who was a keen model maker. I hope I've helped to show you that you don't need pre-made engines, track, people or landscapes to take part in recreating an illustration from the Railway series. You can see some of Awdry's own models at the Talyllyn Railway, or tune in to the livestream on Saturday the 20th of July to see them, along with all of your entries into the challenge. Do watch the video on the TR YouTube channel to find out more. And I'll soon see you in Wales for a little slice of Sodor.